is the TJ Storm from VR Troopers and Godzilla King of the Monsters. Action activate. Boom.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. I'm Gazbot, and we are here for Action Activate. And if I'm here, then that means I am here with
Big Dawg Defender.
All right, Big Dog. So what are we doing today?
Well, I'm just wearing my hat. It's definitely not a shirt on my head. I knew we were going to be doing this, so I had a hat ready. And we're talking about episode 11.
So for episode 11, the title of this is McScary Mansion. And, you're usually the one who says what you think before we start. So what do you think?
Well, I feel like as we go through this, I have a certain opinion, but it's going to change as we talk about it. And my letter grade is going to go up or down depending on what we discuss. I don't know. What about you? First impressions?
I definitely took a lot of notes this time, so I'm going to be referencing that as we pause. And
I watched this episode like 2 weeks ago. I'm not even sure this is the right episode, so I
watched it yesterday, and then right before I went to bed, watched it again today to make sure I'm just ready for this review. And we're going to be showing it in the background. But I thought it was pretty all right. I definitely think it's better than you think it is, because I usually like these a little bit better than you, and you're usually kind of a downer. So let's jump into it.
Okay, I can't keep this up. I can't keep this up the whole episode. Your impression of me was much better than my impression of you. First of all, I didn't even really know what to do. I was still
I was just rolling with it. All I did when the intro was playing was like,
I saw this. I was like, oh no!
Pick up as far as I can make it.
I was looking around to have sunglasses or something.
I was looking. I was like, if only glasses. Just get some sunglasses really quick. Just boom.
I should have been like this. Hey, what's going on? It's me.
Hey,
a little beard.
It's your boy.
It's your boy. This is a beard.
You have pens. You could just really quick.
That's true. Well, I'm like Davy Jones. Like, this is how beards go, right? I saw Pirates of the Caribbean. We're going to talk about episode 11, as the Big Dog Gazbot said.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Do you want to give first impressions, though, while the title sequence flies by?
I didn't love it.
I didn't love it, but I as I was watching it, I'm like, I bet you he hated this, and I don't hate it, is what I thought.
I hated it less watching it before we're recording again, but I also fast forwarded through the boring parts, so that's another reason I like it more.
So you did watch it twice. That wasn't just part of the bit.
Yeah.
Okay, because I watched it earlier today, so I didn't need to watch it again. But funny enough, I usually do have copious notes. McScary Manor, episode 11 is what we're talking about. Yep. I usually do take copious notes. Didn't take any because I watched it like 2 hours ago. So I was like, I'll remember. I like the character of Pop Pop.
I don't.
I like the actor.
I like the actor. I don't like the character.
Well, here's the thing. Maybe I'm overstating it. As far as comedic characters go, I like him. Do we need comedic characters? Do we need this sort of comedic character? I don't know. I like him better than Jane, and I like him better than Jay Borg.
That's a very low bar. I think that's below sea level.
Okay. Well, but I'm saying because this whole opening is him doing comedy. It's a little like piece, and I wasn't annoyed by it. I was like, oh, this is okay. Yeah. This is what we're doing. I wasn't excited.
Those are the most terrifying dolls on any children's show ever.
Super terrifying. It looks like they cut one of the eyes out and drew some marker on it, and like
it looks like
there's like stitching on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked. I'm like, if I was 3, I would never watch Power Rangers ever again.
I do like how he's like, don't worry. To the scary dolls, like I'm sure there's no good. Like they're with the ghosts for sure. They're not. The only
thing I didn't like about this scene, he goes through everything. He's trying to fix stuff. He's kind of talking to himself and the dolls. He brings up Area 62, which is another little nod again. Yes. When he gets scared, I don't like his like barrel roll, like forward roll he does out of the window. That's the only part I really didn't like.
That made no sense, but I kind of loved it. Like it was so cartoony, just like yoink, like just yeet, there I go. Like it objectively is dumb. The whole goofy tone is unnecessary, but better done than a lot of things we've seen recently. So it really was like, this is not for me. This is not how I would have written it. This is not what I as an adult want to see. But if you're doing this, it's being done better than it is most of the time on Power Rangers. That's how I looked at it.
When I saw him jump out the window, I thought, oh, I hope this is the worst piece of physical comedy in this episode. Boy, was I wrong.
Well, I will say, I was just putting the subtitles on. So what I will say is that, okay, he gets stuck in the webbing and then he screams. This bothered me. Why is there a box of 1,000 rubber duckies? That makes no sense.
Just the prop room.
Yeah, but like, I mean, they wanted him to step on something squeaky, fine, but whatever. So I was worried this was going to be a big gloop, like, oh, we're going from one campy joke to a big gloop joke, and it wasn't, thank God. So now we cut to she's reading a magazine, which, young people all the time are reading paper, physical media. I mean, I know I certainly am.
He's like, oh, you're reading Ghost Inspector that's as big as a billboard from across the room?
But not even that. It's just like, it's one of those things where it's a weird trope. Like, are there still magazines in the world? Yes. Do people occasionally read them? Yes. But not really. I mean, like, wouldn't there be a website or a blog that should be following that'd be more up to date?
They've established that this is their workplace, and it seems like 3 people are working.
Yeah, well, that's true of a lot of shows in the workplace. So I'm not terribly worried about that. They're supposed to be like looking for stories or whatever. I don't know. She brings back out the spook snare from, I think, episode 1.
Yeah.
Just serviced. What does that mean? She brought it to some shop? I don't know what that means.
She's got somebody that's going to cameo later that's a deep cut for the Power Ranger universe.
It's Billy Cranston. He's like, I serviced it for you. And it turns out it really does catch ghosts. It works.
This whole scene I felt was kind of too long, and I didn't like it.
Again, the type of episode this is, all of this is not for me. Not what I would choose, not what I would write, not what I would want to see. But it didn't bother me. I think the actor playing Pop-Pop is a charming dude. Yep. I don't think it was too over the top yet. I mean, there was the yeet through the window, but that was just so ridiculous I laughed at it. I will say several times during this episode, I had thoughts like that. And I even towards the end was like, oh, I guess Jayborg and Jane aren't really in it. And well, then we'll get to the end and we'll talk about that.
Yeah. The dynamic they're establishing here between Pop-Pop and Amelia, I don't like where it goes. Like I thought I knew where it was going, and then when it kept going, I was like, oh, this didn't do anything.
I mean, they're setting up that he is overprotective of her or whatever. Where did you think it was going to go that it didn't go?
Well, the twist, one of the plot devices later on kind of throws a wrench. I'll re-bring this up when we get there, but like right now, the dynamic's going.
She wants to go check the ghosts.
Yeah, they're chatting some more. She's got a ghost, fierce one. And
I do like that she says, I want to prove Ollie wrong too. And he's like, wait, is it about ghosts or proving Ollie wrong?
Yes, I did like that joke.
Yeah, I liked it, and it furthers that like sort of will they, won't they. Well, it's not even a will they, won't they. It's more like a when will they thing. Put that back on.
But then she's like, oh, look at this key. I'm going to go and do the business.
Which does seem unethical on a couple levels. Not that Power Rangers don't make mistakes sometimes, but Javi was also like, okay, good luck. Like, it's essentially stealing from her grandfather and then breaking and entering. Just because you have a key doesn't make it legal, So that's a little weird.
Yeah, everything about that was kind of dumb, like in terms of like her. But I mean, we've established early on she does breaking and entering, so
I guess that's true. It's consistent.
Yeah. Right here, she thinks she finds a ghost. Boom, Sporix Beast driving away, calls it in like that. Zato's like, "Yep, we'll be there soon."
I do like that she immediately calls it in. Let me pause for a minute here. They're at McScary Manor, which they call, and the episode is McScary Manor. This is a building in New Zealand, obviously, where they film. I'm going to give myself a one shot. Hey, I rarely do this, but just for you guys.
Put the shirt back on your head and do it as me.
Okay. Welcome to the knowledge zone. Plot hole. So,
Macho Man, big dog, coming at you.
Oh, big dog. Yeah. So, yeah, I need a hat. You have all kinds of accoutrements. I don't have like.
I do. I'm an accessory individual.
You are. You would be a good action figure. You'd have to come with multiple heads. Mine would just be like standard, and then like
jacket or no jacket.
Yeah, hoodie or no hoodie. This is a real building. Obviously, it's not like a set or whatever. And it is up until not too long ago. You could actually rent. It's a historical building, and you could rent rooms and just like live there as hey, it's a building that has rooms to rent. But it changed, and now it's primarily used for filming locations. So it's just this big building that they rent out to studios and photographers and things like that. Interestingly, friend of the show and legendary voice actor Campbell Cooley, he had filmed here once before when he was doing the mob show he did, or movie. I forget if it was a miniseries. The mob thing he did. Look it up on IMDb. But more interesting was previous to that, he lived there.
What?
Campbell Cooley had rented a room X amount of years ago when they were still just renting rooms, like it was a house somebody owned that you could rent rooms on. And so after having rented a room and lived there for a while, he moved out, got a job on this mob thing. And he said when he was filming, he went back to like check out his old room and it was like, yep, that's where I used to live. This is weird. And now Power Rangers is there. Now Slither isn't there. Slither isn't even in this episode, but it's still just a weird connection to be like,
yeah,
I used to live someplace and now 2 shows I've worked on have used it as a set. That's got to be weird,
I'm curious the context on that mob show, if it was like, the gathering room for everybody, like, all right, here's the plan, here's the gig we're doing tonight.
I don't know, because I've seen clips and found stills and we've talked to him about it, but I've never seen the show, so I don't know. But, eventually we're going to interview him again, hopefully, and we can ask him ourselves.
It's true. But speaking of getting wrapped up in the details of the house, Pink Ranger gets wrapped up in the details of the situation.
That was the only that I had.
By what's her name?
Toontress. I want to like the design of this monster. I'm going to pause on the monster. I immediately understood that they're like a mummy, but they're like a pyramid, and they have kind of like this little bird head. And the thing is, I love the idea of a pyramid mummy combo monster, but it just kind of looks like a star with a chicken head to me.
From this angle anyway, it looks like there's one like giant tooth.
I think that's the bottom of like a beak. Oh, on top, I see what you mean. Yeah, it does.
Very off-putting.
Yeah, but it's weird because like I was literally like, oh, what a good idea.
Yeah. I think overall I like it more than I dislike it, but I do think like it doesn't maximize its potential.
Yeah, it's not a fail. Here's the thing. I think it's a very average monster. It's like I wouldn't think too much of it, except that the concept, I think, I don't know why, but I'm like, it's a great concept that they just executed very. If they didn't have bandages underneath, and if it was just like black or something, I'd be like, oh, it's some kind of pointy star monster. I wouldn't even, just be like any other generic monster from any other season.
Pause really quick on it, even though it's on us. One thing that bummed me out is she didn't jump out the window like Pop Pop, which I think would have been great, but she did do the same thing just further down.
Right there.
It would have been better if she just jumped out of the window.
I gotta say that she should have. That, you know what? That is a huge missed opportunity. You're absolutely right, because A, just comedic, repeating something is funny, but B, they're related. So it would reinforce like, well, this is just like our natural instinct, or this is a family jump, or
to the point earlier of kind of them having a dynamic of he's overprotective and thinking she's dangerous. She oftentimes just kind of emulates what he does. It would build that as opposed to everything else we get.
But let's watch this jump again, because I think it's like a stunt actor jumps on a trampoline and actually does that jump and probably lands on like an air mat or something.
Yeah.
It looks like a cartoon did it. It's actually pretty. Oh, wait, I got to back up more. Sorry.
I was going to say, I'm like, now we're just fighting.
Okay, so I got one way back.
And she's next to the window.
Here we go. Boink. Woo. Like maybe there were some wires on it. Actually, maybe there's some wires on it, but it's still.
I think you were right. I think she forward rolled and then landed flat on the crash pad on the bottom. And
it looked crazy though. It looked absolutely crazy.
It looked cool. decent fight while she's wrapped up. The fact that she didn't get like annihilated is great.
Some good kicks. Yeah, prove that she's tough without being in Ranger form.
Man, those are cool swords. I wish the figures had them.
Well, there's a 5-pack you could buy. You didn't buy the others yet, did you?
No. They only came out with 3. Why would I waste my time just getting 3 when the 5-pack's coming?
She used the reverse grip, as you talked about before.
Yep.
And then the mood blast hits. Go ahead.
I was going to say, pause here. What were your thoughts on the mood blast?
Not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so when I watched
terrible.
it the second time, I actually appreciated it more because it's one of those things of those that believe in astrology or where the moon is, full moon, half moon, whatever, that it affects your mood. I like that.
Wait a minute. Is it mood blast or moon blast?
Rewind and look on the subtitles because I'm not sure, but I took it as either.
Because when you just start talking about the moon, and I'm like, what does the moon have to do with it?
Well, I'm thinking, like, I don't know.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong, but
that's how I took it. And I also didn't confirm hearing it.
All right, let me see here. A little help. Hold on, zapping. There's the reverse grip.
That's
a little more tricks.
That's one way of slashing a human in half.
Mood blast ignite. So I heard it correct. Now, knowing that is what is said, does that affect what you were starting to say about astrology and the moon?
No, I still took it because it was like a mummy kind of whatever, crystally Power Rangers thing.
Happening?
The theme of the monster.
Yes.
I think it worked.
I did not tie it to. I thought it was just like a random thing, like how they'll have like I'm the panda monster, but for some reason I shoot fire, or I'm the carrot stick monster and I have acid. Like I took it as just like it's another weird power they have. But you're saying,
well, I thought she said moon at first, but even without that, I still think it just like kind of works with the theme. If I said there's a mummy pyramid monster that changes your mood with a blast, you're like, all right.
I mean, it didn't strike me as odd in this world. I'm like, sure, why not? But I wasn't like, oh, that's so on theme. In the comments, did it just seem like a random power to you? Or do you, like the big dog, think, oh, no, this fit in and it made perfect sense because of X, Y, and Z?
Making it more sophisticated than it is. So one thing I want to say is anytime a character is hit with this blast in the episode, I would like us to kind of lightning round it of, did we like them with whatever mood they had or not? I loved Javi. He was my favorite.
I did not love Javi Nagila. It might be the other actors or characters' lines, but it was weird. His was weird because the others all got hit, and this isn't the fault of the actor, it might be the writing or whatever. The others all seem to get hit with an emotion. He seemed to get hit with all my emotions are heightened.
Yeah.
So he was sad and happy. I love you guys. I'm crying over a goldfish. Like, so it was weird. Like I guess just all of his emotions were heightened, but he was crying. And I say that because they said he was, but he was sort of like, and he wasn't crying. He seemed a little sad. Like he hasn't cried this much since like Goldie died. He's like, Goldie. Now, if he was as an actor supposed to have been crying, that was a huge failure. I don't think that he was supposed to, but they said it in the dialogue. So like it was weird. Like the later scenes were better, I think, with the hot chocolate.
The
stuff.
first one, kind of like you, I think they did that, and then after they like retconned it almost mid-episode, where everything after, I loved Javi.
I preferred all the ones after that first one, and I don't think the actor is to blame. I think it was just a weird.
Like it was kind of weird when they go back to Buzz Blast. I wish Javi was like that all the time, as opposed to just
nicer. Like, oh, you want some hot chocolate, buddy? Yeah. I also, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I didn't understand. They were talking about the hot chocolate, and he was like, oh, it always makes everything, and like, oh, it's kind of bitter. It needs like marshmallows. I thought there was going to be some kind of joke that it was black coffee.
Same.
Because how is hot chocolate bitter? Like even bad hot chocolate isn't bitter. Like we're getting
where he just made hot chocolate without sugar, like it was just cocoa powder.
Yeah, I guess it was weird. It was weird. This fight is fine, forgettable.
Yeah, I like the team morph. That was my favorite part.
Yeah, but it was just like a quick. But what I didn't like, and this is something we see all the time Power Rangers, is that the monster hits someone else with the mood beam. I forget who, and then Mucus shows up and is like, "Hey, this isn't the plan. Let's get out of here." And it's like, you had two of the Rangers incapacitated. You were winning the fight. You had the element of surprise, and then they take her away. And then they send her back. Like again, I know I'm getting out of order, but like it annoyed me because like the chances of her winning were all element of surprise, already winning, and then Void Knight's like, oh wait, no, go back and do that. It's like, well, now they kind of know, and now they're prepared, and like, it's.
So in this scene,
yes.
Amelia gets hit.
Yes.
And this is Sentai footage, I believe.
It seems like it.
Yeah. I loved her in this scene and did not love her most of the episode.
I didn't really have a huge problem with her most of the episode. I like that she got angry. Again, I immediately liked her better than Javi because, she's angry. This is the emotion that's whatever. And then this is what I was talking about, how they're like, let's get out of here because this isn't the exact mission. Dumb.
Yeah, it kind of didn't make sense.
But they do that in a lot of shows. They do that in Power Rangers. It's not like specific to this episode that I don't like. And then Javi's like, can we hug it out and sobs? And, so two of them are a mess. And then,
feel like, sorry.
Yeah, well, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like you just needed like 20 seconds of them back at the bad guy base of going like, oh, why'd you pull us back? Oh, because now that they're overly emotional, they're just going to mess themselves up by being like super mad or super sad or whatever.
I guess, but that's still like, why not just defeat them? Why wait for them to defeat themselves? It clearly was like the monster wasn't following orders, but they're getting good results. So who cares?
It's the same reason why every time they have them on the back foot, they just don't launch everything at them immediately.
Like I said, it happens in this show all the time. It happens in lots of shows all the time. So I mention it, but it's not like this episode did that. Like they always do it. Now this part with Pop looking for the keys, she feels bad. So she fesses up that she took them. I did not realize at this point she was still being affected by the beam. I didn't realize Javi was either. I thought he was just like, woo, I'm all messed up. Let me get some hot chocolate. Then it became clear when he comes back with all the marshmallows, that still being affected and she's still being kind of annoyed. I'll tell you what I did like is that it didn't wear off right away, but it didn't stay at full strength. So he's just being a little bit emo. She's being a little bit annoyed. I like that it seemed to taper off. It's a weirdly realistic thing they did. I also like that she gets mad at him, even though she stole his keys and it was clearly in the wrong, even if he's being overprotective. And I love his response is just like, oh, you're mad. It comes over here like you're mad at me. Yeah. You're angry at me. I love that. Yeah. I love the way he said it. And I love, because clearly, he's the grandpa, he's older, he's a parent. So he's got self-restraint and all this stuff. And he's trying to be, but if this was like anybody else, he would have been like, F you, like, you're mad at me. But he does it so understated. He's like, oh, I did not see that coming, and just sort of walks away. And I thought that was a great moment.
Yeah. I would have preferred if they kept their emotions heightened throughout, because I think it would have made for a better episode.
That's not who that character is, though. That's not who Pop is.
No, not Pop. The Rangers.
You wanted her to be like, I'm sick of you, Pop.
Like everything she did was just enough where I'm like,
Well, I took that because it was wearing off. If it was supposed to be wearing off, I think it was done really well. If it was not supposed to be wearing off, then no, it wasn't.
Well, I feel like in previous episodes, we've seen Rangers get more animated, not affected emotionally, than like she was here, where she's just kind of like, you're kind of irritating me.
I took that to be because this is her de facto father, who she loves, and so
she even did it to the Rangers. She's like, I guess I'll go bring the key back because Pop's gonna die.
Yeah.
She needed to commit more or less, not where she was, in my opinion.
I understand what you're saying, but I guess I took that as it slowly wearing off, where she's acting normal, but just kind of like a jerk.
I took it as poor direction, as opposed to that being a plot device that they could have easily said in one line.
If you were the writer or director of this episode, let us know in the comments who's right. Or the actor.
Anybody.
Right. Well, we cut back to the villains, which scenes always look awesome. I love these angles. It's very Batman.
We both showered.
What?
It said we both showered. We're back, and we both showered.
Oh. Yes. It's weird to think, how do they shower? Do they literally get underwater and use
jump
soap?
In water, I think.
Then prove it. So there's something powerful hidden in that house, which it didn't even occur to me when he said there's something powerful hidden in that house that it would be it's not a Ranger key. What are they called?
A MacGuffin? Power-up armor?
Free power-up. Yeah, I'm going to call it a ranger key. It didn't even occur to me that it would be a ranger key or anything like that. I thought it would be like an evil spell or like a goblin.
Or like a cluster of sporix. Or
something, yeah, because it's like this haunted house and there's this weird evil vibe around it and whatever. And right here, he's looking for these cursed keys. And when Pop finds it, and it's right out in the open too. So if like she has a power to detect things, should have found that really fast, but whatever. He just sort of looks down and he sees it. And I was like, wait, that's not going to be like, what? Because how would it get there?
So it was in the dirt, is what he said. So I think it was under the house. Something broke there, and then they could see it.
So it was under the house because millions of years ago, before the house was built, that's where it ended up. And
yes,
all right, I guess that's okay, but it still just felt like more of that. Oh, here's free ranger stuff for that's unearned, and Grandpa happened to find it. And I guess it makes more sense logically when you say it like that, though.
I thought it the same way of like the marathon episode when they were like, "Hey, you got to just look at all the mountains, and your Zord's under one of them."
Yeah.
They just didn't know they were looking for it. And they're like, oh, it's here. Great.
I guess it's convenient that it's all very close to them, but arguably that's where the base was and where Zeta was. So all the wood, I guess all the battles on Earth back then were in this one general area, which is a little convenient, but whatever. All of that can be explained the way you just said, but it's still, even if it makes logical sense, which it does make more logical sense now that we've talked about it a bit, it's still, I realize, I don't know if I said this before, but all the keys flying around, it has a bit of the Mega Force thing going for it, where it's just like, here's more. You want more? Here's more. But without even Gosei necessarily being the one to distribute them, it almost seems worse. It's like, oh, we're just finding them and here, okay, whatever. And then like, I don't know, it's very unearned. She gets this big power up and it's just like, okay, who cares? Like, it's just another, oh, great. They have lots. This one's a little different. Cool, whatever, it just doesn't have any impact like it should.
Not even the, oh, that's cool. Do you guys have a toy that? No, we don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be nice though, huh?
Oh, it's a whole other thing. But so, and this, I saw this coming a mile away of like, the Power Ranger is going to hold their shirt and like, whatever. It's been done before. It works. I didn't have any problem with it.
Yeah, I didn't like how she was not irritated at all there. I felt like she needed a little bit of attitude for him to be. I thought
that was her coming off the end of it, / finally seeing his point of view and realizing it's all coming from a place of love.
I don't know. Hard to say.
Yeah. I mean, as we said in the beginning, I like this episode better than you.
Yeah. 100%. Love the henchman once again.
Yeah. Oh, I want a lightning collection. No, you know what? I don't, because then I'm going to want several henchmen.
Got the power up. What was hers?
Fear. She gets hit with fear.
Okay.
Hers was fine, but it was just, there wasn't a lot going on. She just kind of got scared and left the fight. So it wasn't that interesting. And then, and we know that Sentai footage because they turned into little bricks, I guess. Is how you know. He comes in, saves him. And this was kind of good. Like, he's like, okay, you go watch him, get out of here. We'll take on him. And then immediately they get hit. So it's like, I like how they're doing logical things, but then they're still getting wrecked, basically.
Yeah. I like how Ollie's like, we're such good friends. I'm like, dude, if there was ever a connection, now is the time for them to just, as a writing.
He came up on Hunter. I thought he was going to be like, I love you so much. You're the coolest. You're the best. And where he would say the words, I love you, but it could be played off later. Like, well, I didn't mean it like that, but we all know he did. Yeah. Like,
I think without going necessarily that far, they could have hammed it up a bit more. Where at the end, she's like, hey, so what's all that stuff you were saying? Seemed like it was pretty real. Oh, no, that was just the monster. And then you do that. Oh, ha, 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 Power Ranger. But like instead, it was just like, no, we're just never going to talk about it. And monsters are still not real and a boo-boo.
Yeah, so he loves everything, but that makes him useless. And Zato is... They said he's bored, but I think lazy. Apathetic would be the emotion, although they don't use that word. They say he's lazy, so they're pointless.
I don't care.
Yeah, just get off me. He's like, what a joker, you. I will say, I am disappointed we didn't see anything about Slither. I understand that this wasn't an episode for him, but they set up the amnesia, and Mucus was in it. If Mucus wasn't in it, I maybe, okay, she's doing. But like, even if it was just the end where she like goes back into some hut, she's like, all right, buddy, we got work to do. Just something, because it was like such a big deal last episode. Yeah. And then they're like totally ignoring it. And Sentai footage, blah blah blah, but they could have had some little quick wink. Here she is.
Fire power up super duper orange armor.
I mean, it's kind of cool. It's got we've seen a fire sword before, so really it's about the armor.
This is cool. And then she's like, fire blast, but we're not going to say the word whip because
I didn't understand that.
Too obvious.
I did not understand why they didn't call that some kind of. I mean, it's a sword, but whatever. It's cool looking, but it just they have so many power-ups all the time. It did not feel significantly different, except that
literally right here. Oh yeah, simple explanation. You guys woke up a Zord. Have fun. Here's your new Zord.
I don't think it even happened yet, but yeah, that I thought it was a thing when it first showed. Okay, so Zato doesn't want to call it, so she calls it, and she calls his Zord because that's like the main one they need.
Yeah.
And when her new Zord, I guess, shows up, the way it happens, I don't know if I looked. I'm going to watch now because say, whoa, what's happening? Okay, right there. I thought the T-Rex Zord went and like mutated to a new fire mode.
Yeah, it did seem that way.
And then when there was two of them, I was like, oh, so that was a little unclear to me. That bothered me less than getting the key because they have established you get the key, you get the dinosaur. That's the energems. It's like that's a thing, you know. But it wasn't that exciting. It was like, yeah, just I don't know. I will say on a purely aesthetic level, I like this version of the Megazord quite a bit.
Oh, for sure.
Also,
I know. Why'd they have to do it this episode?
Also, she is in front as the driver.
So you could do it every time.
When I saw that happen, I was psyched and angry at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, what clearly, and maybe, and this is, oh no, this isn't Sentai footage because this is an American cockpit. Because like maybe the Sentai footage because he was, yeah, they better do it from now on. Here, I will allow this, and I'm going to give myself one shot. I will allow this. I will allow it. I will allow this, and it will be fine, and all will be forgiven if from now on this is how they do it. Yep. Maybe there was a reason that they weren't mobile yet. They didn't think of it. They whatever. But once you do it once, proving that you can and will do it, there's no going back. Yeah. You better keep this up. It's very little effort. Just do it. Going forward, I will never mention it again if you do it right. If you start doing it wrong, you'll never hear the end of it.
Don't hit play yet. My favorite part of this scene is they go in, rewind like 5 seconds.
I can rewind 10 seconds.
All right.
And then I'll play 5
So we're in here. Look at Zato in a moment. So they're all, oh, wow, new Zord. That's awesome. Zato goes in, keep going, literally just goes dunk and then sits down. I love because they're always like, and he's just,
yeah, that is good. And actually, now that we're watching it again, I see that, oh my gosh, Green is like cowering away, scared of her own pedestal in the background, but overshadowed by what Zato is doing. I agree.
Yeah.
So it becomes clear that Javi and Amelia are going to be the ones doing the whole fight, basically.
Yeah.
Again, as much as they didn't really earn this, and it comes out of nowhere, this Megazord I think is awesome. Yeah. It's got the consistency of the red all matches together. It's got like the cool kind of Shogun samurai armor face thing, and the fire. So cool. It's got these big cannons. I don't even know if they use the big cannons or not. I don't remember.
I don't know if they do either. I took it more as like a knight because he has kind of like the shield thing and
maybe
like
that makes sense because it does. Oh, they do use the cannons right
okay.
And it shoots off their chest. Again, what they're doing matches. So this Zord fight, the actual fight between the two monsters isn't that impressive, but what they're doing in the cockpit and the way the Zord configuration looks, I love.
And then this fire and explosions are so boring.
Yeah. And I love this too.
And I like how she called it out. She's like, I've always wanted to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. She gets to form the head. Do you see them wrestling in the background? I didn't notice that either. Because she's being all cool. Let's just watch the background action here. Watch this.
And then
wait, no, okay. But yeah, they're just sort of falling all over each other. Keep watching. Like they're just like, what's happening? They're just flopping.
American footage, baby.
That looks so cool. The actual fire. You know, I think it reminds me a bit of the Thunder Megazord with the fire sword and the shield in the face. But yeah, I don't have that Fire Dimitri Dunn figure, whatever. I have the Japanese version. The American version isn't out yet. I want to see, now, having seen that, I want to see if they have a Japanese version and it's a reasonable enough price that I want that to be my configuration.
They have it, and I don't know how much it is, but it's like an accessory Zord, so it shouldn't be too bad.
It shouldn't be, but that could go both ways, you know what I mean? But so there's been some ups and downs, but it did end on like kind of a cool action set piece.
Yeah, that was the end of the good.
But I will, like I said, I had thought several times during this episode, betcha Big Dog's not going to like a lot of this comedy, whatever. And I'm not defending it. Like, I'm not saying, oh no, it's good and we need it, but it didn't bother me. And I like Pop-Up. I think he's charming. And I was even thinking like, oh, here's Jane, but here's Pop-Up doing his thing. And like, he's had more comedy screen time than Jane and J-Borg ever do. And it bothered me much less. Maybe the jokes aren't quite as bad. Maybe he's a little more charming. I don't know what it is, but I was thinking like, and we made it through a whole episode and nothing like that happened. And then this happens. As soon as this happens, I'm like, oh no. Not only is there going to be a terrible Jane joke, but they're going to drag Pop-Up into it.
Yep.
And it's bad. It's very bad.
Arguably one of the worst.
Yes. Here she is flying out to the side. This comes back to super science again. Are we supposed to believe Buzz Blast has some sort of industrial hyper weather control that most places on Earth don't have? Because what air conditioning system that's like a jet engine. You know what I mean? Like no amount of him getting it wrong would make this happen. And it also makes him look incompetent because we're supposed to believe that he is a competent person, I guess.
Yeah.
So now he looks incompetent and they do this cartoon thing and he's like, okay, let me make a teeny weeny adjustment. Which, and again, why would she go back in the office? She knows it's not working. A second ago, she almost got blown out the door. So she's like, okay, I'm going to try it now. And you would think she goes back in and turns it on or whatever and then sees what's happening, right? But then time passes, so she turns it on and stays in there. Is that any better? Now it's been like 6 seconds. We see the sun. Oh, somehow it went super hot.
And she's dressed like she's coming out of the first Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah, if you walked into a 100-degree room, it couldn't get you that sweaty.
Or sunburn.
What? Or sunburn. Yeah. And so comedy, I guess, I mean, that's what they're going for. But again, no environmental control system in the world could do it that way, let alone by mistake. And then, okay, this is terrible. I'm not enjoying this.
Don't worry, it's probably over.
She's going back in. Why is she going back in? It's going haywire. He's like, I'm going to turn it down. He gets distracted by Amelia. Who's like, by the way,
hot or cold.
Right in the middle, But, he gets distracted for 30 seconds. And she's like, by the way, I love you and all that stuff. And so, of course, we think maybe it's over, but we know it's not because the rule of threes, 3 bad jokes have to come in a row. And up to this point, I did not like that joke, but I did not necessarily think it was the worst Jane joke I've seen.
As egregious.
Yeah, it was like, oh, this is bad. This is on par with those bad jokes. At this point, were you like, because you said you think this might be the worst one we've seen. Did you think that at this point, or was it when the next thing happened?
I was already like, oh, what else could possibly happen?
I was thinking either nothing. I thought it would be a little dumb joke. Oh, now it's too cold. My coffee is frozen, or something stupid, like equally stupid. And I was prepared for that, thinking that it'll be dumb, but it's not going to make it any worse than it already was. But I was wrong because she kicks open the door, and now again, 5 minutes later, not even 5 minutes, 30 seconds later, it's ice cold. She has ice on her face, which again, if it's that cold, why would she oh, it's so cold. Ice is forming on my face. I'm so mad. I hope he fixes it soon. Like, why do you wait so long? Wouldn't you be like, oh, this is cold, and step outside?
And what did she say? I'm not paying you.
No. At that point, I was like, that makes sense. Why would you pay this incompetent person who has indirectly physically assaulted you now 3 times with his poor craftsmanship, caused you bodily harm? At this point, I was like, that's even dumber than I thought it was going to be, but still, I'm fine. It's what we've become accustomed to. I will not be paying you. I will not be paying you. Fine. Makes sense. Perfect sense for your services. Yeah, why would you? He what, unless you could beat me? What? Snowball fight? What's happening? She's so forgetting the physics and the science of it. She's gonna have frostbite. She's got ice on her face. She's damaged, and she's like, "This is so cold. I'm dying. I better." And she's gonna have pneumonia because she was boiling hot a second ago. I better quick make a snow, because it's not like, "Ooh, you made snow. How fun!" Like, she looks like she's gonna die. Oh, let me make a snowball.
And she had it hidden the whole time.
Unless you, and so then is it that she, Either she really wants a snowball fight where everybody runs up to the office, gets like frostbite to get a snowball, or she's like, this is my revenge. But it like, I hate it. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's the worst. Small little thing on top of that I don't like. She throws the snowball, right? This is it right here. And I haven't paused this. I just watched it live once. It explodes on nothing.
Yep.
It doesn't hit him. And it explodes out in this weird, like, they couldn't just throw a snowball. They had to do this weird CGI. It wasn't even like a prop. It was like, why? It was just like a CGI poop period on the
Leave
worst
it
joke.
pause for a sec. So right here, pause.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, go back to when it explodes.
All right. The minute it explodes?
Yeah. And then I'll tell you when to pause. Pause. You can tell that they said a snowball's going to blow up, everybody react. Because Zato is turned the wrong way. Javi's turned his own way. Like, everybody's doing random things that aren't cohesive.
Yeah. And also, you know, I hate to bring reality into it yet again, but I've been hit by plenty of snowballs. I've thrown plenty of snowballs. You're up on the East Coast. They don't turn into shrapnel. And if it does, then it's like a little bit of, like, it's just, it doesn't happen.
You clearly didn't see where she just came out of. She lived through 4 wars in 30 seconds, and this snow just, the second it gets to room temperature, explodes. It
gets near somebody that is warm. It explodes. Yeah, it was terrible. So I don't think that episode was terrible. I think that joke was terrible. And I think that the big reveal of the power-up key and the new Megazord was not earned or impressive, despite really liking the Megazord enough that I want to buy the toy, which is interesting. I'm going to check the prices, but I'm like, well, maybe this will encourage me to buy a Hasbro toy, but I don't think they've even announced that Zord. They've announced the main Zords, and so it's like, okay, yeah. It's a weird one, and theoretically now we're going on hiatus. Supposedly episode 12 is coming. It hasn't yet as of 7/13/2021 at 8:02 p.m. California time.
Yep.
So we're going on hiatus. We might be back in a week. We might be back in a couple months. Who knows? But I kind of wish we weren't ending on this one, especially on that note. What's that?
That's the other thing that brings this down. Is I watched this and I went, that's what you guys are having us marinate for 3 months on ish. Why?
But it's not. But it's not supposed to be necessarily, because that's the other thing. Everything's so weird. We didn't think we were getting new episodes for a while because of Nick. Then we got these 3 episodes on Netflix. That wasn't necessarily planned out this way. What's his name? The showrunner. I keep forgetting his name. Yeah, he had said something about the first episode back that I had said wasn't the best episode to come back on. He had said that, like, he kind of found out later on when they were coming back, but it wasn't like they didn't set up like this is the mid-season finale. So I give a pass to the people who created the show that they don't necessarily know, but it is like the whole scheduling thing is so weird. And like, I've heard rumors, and again, this is all rumor stuff, that like the rest of season 1 is just going to be on Netflix and not on Nickelodeon, or it'll be on Nickelodeon, but it might dump on Netflix first, or like, who knows? But it's clearly whatever weird schedule dumping they're doing, and it's not helping with, like you said, this, like, now we're going to sit for however long on this being the big cliffhanger episode, which wasn't very good. And like, I don't know. I think the second episode, 10, was the best of these new 3 by far. You have to think about it.
That was that was the Slither one. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, they introduced a new villain who I liked.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same. I was trying to think what happened in the one with the bird monster that, like, I remember that monster because we talked about it in episode 10, but I'm trying to remember what else happened.
It was just a very forgettable episode as far as I remember.
Clearly.
Like, yeah. And this one, I'm not sure if I like this one better or worse than 9.
I like this worse than 9.
I think 9 did the type of episode 9 was like very filler and like very average to subpar for that sort of filler episode, just kind of like whatever. This was a very, despite introducing a new Zord combination, it was just a comedy episode that happened to feature Pink. But it felt like this is a comedy. This is a pop-up episode that Pink is in.
9 was
a comedy episode. What?
9 was the camping one.
Oh yeah.
I liked that episode.
I don't know. I might like this one better, but again, the way I'm setting it up, like listen to this, the way I'm phrasing it. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree. You can
I
listen
just want to shake my head at you. Continue.
I feel like for the type of episode that one was going for, it didn't succeed as high as the type of episode this one is, which I prefer that type of episode to this type of episode. But if this is like a family comedy, cheesy, campy episode, they're often done way, way worse. And while I hated the ending, and there were a couple parts I groaned at, like for the most part, I didn't mind this episode. I watched most of the episode being like, this is fine. It's not great. Episode 9, I was shaking my head a lot more. And I think it's because episode 9 is the type of episode that should have been better. That like this episode was never going to be great. And I think it did better than I expected. So that's why this one, 10, I liked. 11 was like, oh, that was pretty good. And 9, I was like, this is a disappointment. That's kind of why I'm like, so I'm not going to argue that 11 was better than 9, but my viewing experience of 11 was better than my viewing experience of 9.
I feel like this could have been aired as episode 9, and it would have made this situation better.
Like if this was episode,
like
the final episode was, I guess, I don't know. I feel I want episode 10 to be the one we came back on, and I also want episode 10 to be the cliffhanger. Yep. I want just get rid of 9 and 11, and let's just have 3 episode 10 qualities. That's what I want. Hopefully, we'll get episode 12 soon. Whenever we do, we'll be back to review it. We might not be back that minute because August, both of us have a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
But we will, however long the hiatus is, we will break it to do episode 12. And as Big Dog said, we might come back and do something else here or there, but just don't expect us week to week. But we'll still be on social media, on the Facebook and all that stuff if you want to reach out and talk to us. I don't know. Anything else I'm forgetting?
We didn't do a letter grade.
C+.
You did lower than I thought.
You could go lower than that. If it would probably be a B if it wasn't for that horrible ending and my disappointment with the way they got the Ranger key, just sort of like whatever. Because there was a lot of stuff I liked.
I'm going to put C- because of the ending.
You know, I'm going to say, no, I'll stick with C+. Because there was good stuff and bad stuff. And it's a little bit of it would be C, but again, I was impressed that the type of episode it was did as well as it did. So I'll say C+. So you're saying C-?
Yeah, the ending was egregious. Like, kind of like we've been saying about a lot of stuff that Hasbro's been doing, or this show in general. There's stuff where it's like, thanks for having the Pink Ranger be in the front and doing this and this.
Yes.
And then what was that ending? Who was in charge and got paid money to put that there?
It could have been made to work. It could have been, I mean, it's still a joke I don't want, but it could have.
No, that joke never worked.
They could have made the air conditioning system go out of control. And while they're talking, arguing, figuring everything else, it's getting colder and colder. And then snow starts falling over the course of a longer period of time. And then Jane comes in and is like, what's going on here? Blah, 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 blah. And then somebody hits somebody with a snowball and it becomes a snowball fight. Do I love that? No. But it's like, okay, then they get their Three Stooges goofy ending and it's more plausible, you know, more of a lighthearted thing. Yeah, as opposed to her being damaged 3 times and then challenging him to a snowball fight.
Yeah, to me, it made me, and this is, I don't mean this to sound as rude as it does. This made me feel like I was watching Ninja Steel in a bad way. Because the comedy characters had these weird science-like breaking comedy, and the Ranger stuff seemed mostly surface level. And like, if this episode wasn't in the series outside of getting a new Zord, you wouldn't know that it was missing.
I see your point. I somewhat agree. I will disagree on this. You said if this episode wasn't in the series outside of getting a new Zord, you wouldn't notice. I'll go one further. If this episode wasn't in the series and then in another episode or two that Zord showed up, I wouldn't even notice. I'd be like, oh, I guess they got this sort of, because the way they introduced it, it bursts up through the ground and they would be like, oh, just like all their other powers just show up. So we wouldn't notice it. It wouldn't. And the same thing with her power up. Be like somebody uses that power up, like, oh, I guess that's one of the other keys do. So I think you could not have this episode in it at all and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
One thing somebody pointed out online, I don't remember who, so I can't take credit for this, but it was some other commenter, that we didn't see where the Sporks went. We didn't see if the Rangers got it. We didn't see if Void Knight got it. We didn't see what happened to it. That might just be an oversight, or it might be a plot point later on. That's not my thought. Someone else had it, but I was like, that's a good thought, so I want to repeat it.
I think you got cut for time for the snowball incident.
Anyway, this is what we're ending on. Good,
hey, just
good.
like this, it's not exactly what you wanted. It's mildly disappointed, but hey, we tried.
Well, we're looking forward to episode 12, whatever that may come. Till then, I have been Gazbot.
I continue to be, except at the beginning of this episode, Big Dawg Defender.
And to
the power. I'm very curious to see what Drake Drago thinks of this episode, because in last week's episode in the comments, he was saying that he actually really liked it, and I did not. So I'm curious his take, similar to yours.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I remember he said, oh yeah, because you had hinted that you didn't like it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you didn't like it. I mean, maybe it's similar to mine, where like he's like, oh, for the type of episode it was fine. I don't know.
No, I'm honestly curious. No shade. I'm just like, that snowball fight, though.
All right, and we're clear of being off the air because we're still on the air. Okay, and I am done recording when I press the button and say I'm done recording, which I haven't done yet. Okay, but I'm going to press the button now. I did press the button.
Yeah.
But there is a second button I have to press, which I'll press right